Hi everyone. I hope all of you are having a great day. Thank you for joining us for the Talent Mobility webinar on unlocking employment opportunities in Europe for IT professionals. And we are so thrilled to have you here. Today, we have attendees from all around the world, and thank you for making it in time to join our webinar. Our goal is to provide all of you with valuable insight into making a successful career transition to Europe. Today, we have some exceptional guests, speakers, and engaging topics lined up for all of you. But first, let's go over some ground rules to ensure a smooth experience. Please use the Teams Q&A function located near the reaction button, as you guys can see in the picture, to ask any questions. Our team will address these either directly or during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Additionally, feel free to use the chat function to interact with the speakers, provide feedback, and contribute to the discussion as well. Now, for the agenda. So here is the agenda for today's webinar. We'll start by introducing our speakers, including guest speakers who are actually here to share their firsthand experiences. Afterwards, I will cover some trends and current status of the European IT sector, including some in-demand IT jobs and more. In the panel discussion section, we will actually be engaging our guest speakers who will be answering key questions about their experiences as IT professionals in Europe. So I hope all of you will be looking forward to that. They will also be sharing about the workplace environment as well as the future prospect in the IT field. In the introduction to Sperton section, we will be giving you a brief overview of our company and their qualifications. At the end of the webinar, however, we will hold an extensive Q&A session. We will encourage all of you to stay with us until the end so we can address as many of your questions as possible. Now, let's get started with the speaker introductions. All right, speaker introduction. So Kousain, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Wonderful. Thank you, Jihun, first of all, for initiating the conversation. I welcome everyone who have joined in from different time zones. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Kousain, and I'm an HR professional with well over 10 years of experience, worked in different industries like fintech, energy, healthcare, and management. I have worked in Europe with several clients in these industries. In terms of my professional qualification, I'm a behavioral economist with a focus on data sciences. In terms of my work experience, I have been helping companies across the globe in terms of people management. This includes talent acquisition, helping them in the complete employee life cycle, different aspects within the human resources. We have been very much primarily focused on now bridging the talent gap in the IT, in healthcare, in energy sector. And currently, I'm working with Sperton, where we are supporting our clients across the globe. So that was a quick one from my side. Thank you, Jihun.
All right. Yeah, so hi everyone, this is me. My name is Jung. I'm currently at the final parts of my bachelor's in international business administration. I have some experience working with IT sector, IT companies here in Germany, in Bremen specifically, including Topaz, Enkoe, and Ohabe. I've worked with them in market analysis, and right now I'm a talent acquisition intern specialist at analyst at Sperton, and am working with the team to conceptualize and implement the talent mobility services for IT and healthcare. Salman Shah, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you so much, Jihun. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm unmute, right? Okay, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I am Salman. I am working in an IT company here in Germany from last year, and overall, my experience here in Germany would be like almost over 3 years, working in different sector from uh, logistics to HR. Yeah, in the IT sector, HR, I've been supporting the company with talent acquisition needs all across Europe. Yeah, in different capacities. And in my personal level, I study economic behavior and governance, and I am at the end part of my degree. Yeah, almost about to finish. I have expertise in experimental research, in data analysis, in empirical research. So yeah, that's my background. Thank you.
Thank you, Salman.
Yeah.
Romando Bajraktari, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Ramanda Baraktari. I am also pursuing my Master of Science in Economic Behavior here in Germany. I've previously and still working in most recently in the IT sector, but I've previously worked as well in the banking and the pharmaceutical industry. And from almost 2 years now, I'm working for a company of Deutsche Börse Group 360T as a technical client advisory or L1 and L2 technical support. And I also have a lot of experience and focus in data analytics, science, and of course business.
Perfect. Thank you, Romando. Now, let's talk about the IT needs in Europe. So first, let's cover how exactly is the EU, the European Union, currently performing in the IT sector overall worldwide. Um, According to Eurostat, as in the figure that you guys can see, um, the EU is actually performing a little bit slightly less than their other competitors, for example, in this chart, specifically China and US, so other superpowers, when it comes to their technological achievements in 2019. So, for example, for the IoT revenues that were expected for 2025, they're lagging much further behind when it comes to China and the US. The US has a very significant lead over the European Union's software and computer services. There is a big gap in digital platforms from the US and China, and the EU has very small very small stage when it comes to digital platforms. This is also similar for AI, and despite having a bit more influence when it comes to semiconductor sales, the EU is still struggling a lot when it comes to their IT development, IT performance overall in comparison to other global superpowers. Now, the EU has established that a big goal of theirs is to establish autonomy in their system, and the criteria that they've set for themselves is, for example, digital products. These include artificial intelligence. This includes advanced analytics and big data, forensic technology. It also includes ICT infrastructures, which stands for information communication technology and is basically secure communications and networkings. There's also data infrastructure, high performance computing, cloud and data space, quantum technologies, and lastly, hardware, which include photonic, ultra low power microprocessors, lightweight printed or flexible electronics, and sensor. What this graph basically tells us is that currently the EU is facing a big shortage when it comes to IT skilled IT professionals overall. This is directly reflected in their current performance as an IT superpower in comparison to the other sectors. Now, yeah, this is directly translated to the following graph that we see here, which is also from Eurostat. This graph gives us a little bit of an insight in the difficulties that are faced by EU firms in hiring IT specialists from 2019 and 2020. This graph directly reflects the top 5 and bottom 5 countries in the EU that are facing this type of high skill IT professional shortage. And a very interesting fact that has direct influence over this topic is that despite a 51% growth in the number of ICT specialists in the last 10 years, which is 9 times faster than other professions. So I think we should, take some time to yeah, to take that in. 9 times faster, and yet 58% of EU firms are still having a hard time hiring ICT specialists. Yes, it's very, very shocking. And this just comes to demonstrate that there is a very high skill shortage in the European Union when it comes to all of you guys, the IT technicians. We've already covered basically that. Firstly, the EU is lagging behind a little bit when in terms of IT technologies in comparison to other world superpowers. We've also established that because of this directly translates into a workforce shortage of ICT specialists. But now let's kind of talk about what exactly we mean when we mean ICT specialist or information communication technology specialist. According to the Eurostat ICO 08 official definition, this encompasses 2 different groups: the ICT managers, professionals, and associate professionals. This includes ICT service managers, ICT professionals that fall under software and multimedia developers and analyst categories, and database specialists and system administration, as well as ICT technicians, which are the ICT operations and user support technicians and communication technicians. There's also the ICT specialists that are in charge of managing the goods and services that are related to ICT. So when we talk about this, we're talking about electronics engineers, we're talking about telecommunication engineers, graphic and multimedia designers, information technology trainers, sales professionals, electronic engineering technicians, and all of these things. So it's a very, very, very broad range that is covered when it comes to ICT specialists, and I'm sure all of you are actually encompassed in at least one of these terms. And actually, Kousain will give us a little bit more insight later on about the specific job titles related to this. Now, in order to make a better comparison regarding what it's so we know that Europe might be a bit lagging behind when it comes to information technology. However, now let's take a look at what it's actually the comparison that really matters to you, which is how you will be working there, what are the job salary expectations, what qualifications you need to work there, and working hours. So here we have a very structured comparison between Europe, USA, and the UAE. So let's first take a look at the salary. The average salary of IT professionals in Europe is 6,353 USD per month. So we've translated all of these numbers to dollars so that it's the comparison is easier. In the USA, this number is $9,916 per month, and in the UAE, it's a significantly lower 3,416 per month. Now, it's also very, very important for us to note that there are a lot of external factors that actually influence how much of this salary actually comes into our pockets, right? These factors include things such as living expenses. For example, in the USA, living expenses are much, much higher compared to Europe and the UAE. Let's talk about qualifications now. In Europe, Normally, it's required to have 2 years of professional experience and or a completed vocational training. In the USA, this is a bachelor's degree or 12 years of experience or a mix of both. So yeah, so you could have certain amount of work experience as well as some sort of qualification, either associate's qualifications or so. And this qualification in the USA is called the H-1B qualification. In the UAE, there is something called the UAE Golden Visa, which can be achieved by having a bachelor's and an employment contract already that is for over 8K per month. Working hours in general is very similar. In 2020, for Europe, the usual working week averaged 37.5 hours. In the USA, this was slightly less, 36.4 hours, and in the UAE, it was slightly more, 48 hours per week. In terms of mobility, however, there is a huge difference between these three countries. In Europe, in these three regions, in Europe, there is a very high flexibility and certification recognition all across Europe, and this is a very well-known very well-known fact, and I'm sure all of you have heard about this. Transitioning from one European country to work in another European country is extremely easy because there is a compatibility in the systems. They already have all sorts. So the visa process is much easier, transportation is much easier, and everything in general is much more flexible in comparison to going from for example, USA to another country. So this is also the same for allows for full flexibility and recognition within the USA, and this is the same for the UAE. Now, key difference is that just because you work in the US does not mean that you can't transition to another country to Europe. What we mean by this specifically is that Europe has more inbuilt structures that allow for easier transition from one country to another and easier recognition from one European country to another. Now, Kousain will give you guys a little bit about a little insight into the talent landscape in the IT sector.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jihun, for the insights, sharing with us exactly what the demands in the Europe are looking like for the next few years. What are the current challenges that we are facing? As part of our research, what we also did was we looked at some of the specific job titles, specific job families, where we see that there is a current challenge that the industry in Europe specifically is facing as well. So touching upon one of the famous job titles within, or let's say skill set within the IT sector, is for let's say full stack developers, back end developers, front end developers, and this family of IT professionals, people could have, let's say, expertise on Java, SQL, on Node.js, React, different skill sets for both front end and full stack. What we actually did is that we looked at what is the number of professionals that right now that we have in Europe are, let's say, somewhere around 40,000 professionals working in specifically these job titles. What interesting is to see is that we still have somewhere around 3,500 jobs at this current point in time that are that are not filled. So as Jihun mentioned as well, that 51% of the companies already mentioned that they are struggling when it comes to finding these professionals. So currently as well, we see that there is a big demand around this skill set. Some of the specific areas that we looked at, this report is for the German-speaking Germany and the Austrian region. So you would see the concentration of these professionals is primarily in the metropolitan. So for instance, in Berlin, in Munich, in Hamburg, Vienna, and Frankfurt. So for instance, any professional who is planning to come to Europe, specifically, let's say to Germany, so the focus should be, let's say, on these in this region. And there are all of these job opportunities around that. Some of the top field of studies that are around this skill set are people who have background in computer science, in informatics, computational science, information technology, and computer software engineering. So the people in the audience and the ones that we have been working with as well. So if you have, let's say, this field of study, you have a similar background, so there is a lot of opportunities around that. What we also did in terms of our research is looking at some of the example companies, like, which are the companies hiring. So if you would see on this bottom right side, you have the list of companies. Just to give you an example, for HelloFresh, Check24, SAP, Selbstständig, DCI Digital. So there is a ongoing demand that these companies are growing with at least with 2%, 2%, 7%, 1%, 2% on an year-on-year basis. So we would see a growing demand around this skill set in currently as well and in the future as well. Moving on to one of the very interesting skill set is cybersecurity, because there has been happening a lot. Companies are facing challenges on micro level as well and on country level as well. That countries are making sure that their infrastructure, cybersecurity is well intact. In terms of that, if you would see that there are 4,261 professionals that are currently working, and the interesting part here is that you see there's an 8% growth in this profession. So there are people who are, there's a demand and there's a supply as well, but this profession is growing. So at this point in time, in the numbers, when we look at, let's say, the job post, you already have somewhere around 800 people that are required at this current point in time. The top skills that are required in cybersecurity is people having background in information security, network security, information technology, people having hands-on with Linux. Some of the top job titles around cybersecurity are cybersecurity engineers, specialists, analysts, architects, consultants, investigators, supervisors. And then again, some of the companies that we can look at are Deloitte, NTT Data, Ernst & Young, CGI, who are hiring on a regular basis for this profession. And there's an attrition going on as well, because since the demand is so high, so companies are fighting over the scarce talent pool that is in Europe right now. So again, this is in line with what the total needs of Europe are. This is in line what the EU's target for 2030 is, a digitalized economy, and not only in IT sector, for the companies that are working in the IT sector, but in the other sectors as well. For example, in energy, in healthcare, there's a lot of IT professionals needs as well. When we come to, let's say, digitization of grids, when we talk about, let's say, more technological advancement into healthcare. So this is very much well related in that sense. The two specific areas that we looked at were developers and cybersecurity. We did a similar study for looking at, okay, what exactly are those job titles or job families within the ICT, information and communication technology, where these where professionals are required. And as part of our research, what we did was we clubbed these skill set into 4 families. So we have web and mobile development, you have cybersecurity, infrastructure, and data sciences. So in web and mobile development, professionals are required for having background in full stack development, back end, front end, web mobile development, databases, versioning tool, DevOps. Specifically in cybersecurity, people who have experience in cybersecurity operations center, offensive security, incident response, cybersecurity consulting services. On the infrastructure side, you have cloud services, network engineering, computer and information system management, network administration. Specifically on the data sciences, we are requiring people with background of data engineering, machine learning, data modeling analysis. So IT professionals with having these backgrounds, there's a lot of demand that is current as well and in the future as well. So that was a quick rundown of the research that we have done over the past few months and looking at how the current and the future talent landscape for information technology will change in Europe. Now, coming to one of the interesting parts of our today's webinar is the panel discussion, where we would like to include our guest speakers, Salman and Romando, for taking their time out. First of all, thank you to you as well, joining on a Sunday. I believe that you would have had a long week for sure. So giving this time out, we are really glad and appreciative of that. Thank you so much. So moving on to the first part of our discussion, and in between, if to our audience, if you have any questions that you would like to ask, please feel free to use the Q&A section. Please feel free to mention on the chat as well, and we will take your questions towards the end. So starting with when people are actually looking at mobility, first thing that comes into okay, how do we go about it? And at that point in time, I think Salman, I would like to come to you first of all, and we would like to know your experience around that. So as we know that you have moved into Germany like some 5 years back. First thing first. So what was your impression of being in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, 5 years back, I remember, so the time goes by here very quick, this for sure. Yeah, so I would say like to start off, friendly people, yeah, everything is pretty organized here. So starting was a roller coaster ride, I would say. So some ups, some downs. There were for sure some challenges. Starting to come to study masters, finding accommodation, socialize. So yeah, in that sense, it was a roller coaster ride. But again, there are some very helpful people, luckily I found, who proved to be very helpful for me. But yeah, I would say that for professionals or for students, it can be very, very helpful to know pre-hand what they are about to, encounter coming into Europe. Uh, that could be really helpful in a sense that so everybody is pre-prepared. Let's say from accommodation point of view, let's say who to approach, what community is there for them that can be helpful, or in a professional sense as well. Let's say what kind of skills they need to know beforehand. So that could be also something really, really helpful. So that was like my overall impression of Europe. Nice, sometimes very cold. So yeah.
No, thank you, Salman. I think that's a good introduction. Like when you're moving in to a different country, either it's from your home country to a different region, or from, let's say, moving from Germany now to a different region, there are always like those initial hiccups that we face. Just to understand for our audience as well. So, how was the process of the initial process moving to Europe, and now since you are working in a big IT firm in Germany, and I believe you have been helping in relocating a lot of IT professionals as well. So how do you feel the process have changed over the past 5 years? What was the process then, or probably how is the process now? Is it smoothened?
Yeah, I think it depends, mostly depends on the country, the country of the candidate or the professional that want to move from. For example, from South Asia, it could be challenging, but again, there is a streamlined process. And yeah, over the past few years, at least in Germany, I can see that the process has become really, really smooth. Um, Especially for working professionals and students, if you have like a proper application, proper admission letter. So I do not see any problem, because it's the process is really streamlined. And also for the working professionals, as you mentioned as well earlier, the needs for IT professional here in Europe. So the governments are really making sure that these needs can be met. So yeah, again, it's really streamlined. Countries are really opening up for working professional in IT industry, in healthcare industry. So I would say in past few years, this process has become really opened up. Yeah.
Perfect. No, thank you. And you touched upon in your previous comment about accommodation. We see a lot of challenge, like at least in Germany and then in other European countries as well, finding proper accommodation. So we will of course touch upon the first of these soft topics, and then we will move into the technical side as well. But just to know, so challenging was it to find proper accommodation?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned before, so knowing it beforehand, pre-hand coming into Europe, because sometimes you just simply don't know anybody. So if you can pre-arrange everything, so it could be really helpful. And yeah, there are companies, there are entities that can help you here, but this can be something very challenging because first thing when you move into a new country is an accommodation and a comfortable place that you want to land in. So yeah, that was for me at least a challenging part because I was not aware of the process exactly. But then I think this is somewhere I think you can support the candidates or the working professional. Sperton can support a lot, but yes, this can be very tricky and challenging in the beginning months. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. This is, of course, as you mentioned as well. So, as Sperton companies like us, we just make sure that, the transition process for people who are looking opportunities elsewhere, that really is smoothened. Um, but talking about cultural difficulties, when you're, let's say, landing in a company, or even if you are switching jobs as well. Did you face any cultural difficulties at that time? And then now you are working in full time in IT. How are the cultural differences that you see, let's say, in the workplace as well, or on the personal level?
I think in terms of culture, I think it is so the language would be the first thing that comes to my mind of the particular region, let's say that you want to land in. So yeah, language is a challenging aspect. I would really recommend learning the language, at least the basic one, starting off like a basic conversation in the streets and everywhere. And then of course, because once you know the basic language, then you can improve on that into yeah, like going inside a company, working into the professional environment, because it's not just the language, it's the understanding of the whole culture of the company culture, which is mostly intact within the country. So the language itself is something that I would really recommend. And then once you know a bit of language, then you integrate into the country culture and also the company culture. So the mix is really, really important. So yeah, I myself also face a similar sort of challenge, but I took it as a challenge, and yeah, yeah, I think it was interesting. It was a very nice journey.
Okay, no, thank you, thank you. I think that's really important, like, because if you are, let's say, planning to network with your colleagues after work as well, and then if you're a native German speaker, you would want to, let's say, be an easy evening, would want to speak with you in your own language, and then I think that really helps you network on a professional level, on a personal level as well. So language, of course, is one of the major things. And thank you for mentioning on that. And when we are talking about, let's say, specifically, you have shared your journey of relocation. Could you also mention a little bit about, let's say, the people who you are in your company or in your network? You see that, IT professionals who are relocating to Germany with IT background. How do you see that process? Is it more smoothened for, let's say, IT professionals rather than, let's say, management professionals, or is it better for IT professionals in terms of other professions? How do you see within your company as well, within your network? Because you have been working specifically in the IT in talent acquisition. So if you could share some insights on that.
Oh, absolutely. I think, as you mentioned before, and also from the numbers we saw, so the need is also always there. It's just a matter of fact that if a company can find a person with exact needs, so by needs I mean, so there are exact skills. So the mix of skills is very important. I mean, maybe a full stack developer might have everything, but there is this some niche skill that's required by a company. So yeah, but then again, the companies are really giving yeah, trainings on onboarding processes, making sure that if one or two skills are missing, so that's not a problem. But knowing the language sometimes could be tricky. Yeah, integrating into the culture might be sometimes tricky, but again, knowing the skills, knowing the language, understanding the culture is something that's really, really helpful. And yeah, as mentioned, the need is always there. So that's somewhere people can really come in handy for Europe, coming from different part of the world. Yeah.
Okay, so that's much streamlined.
Mhm.
And as we know from our conversation before that now you are planning to move your family to Europe as well. Again, coming from your personal experience, from the people that you have been supporting, so how is the process for an IT professional, or let's say a professional who is planning to move to Europe with family? Is it difficult to move with your family? Would it be better to just move by yourself, a family later, or is it okay if you want to move with your family as well, and the process has been easy on that side?
I think now the process has really smoothened up. It's a very streamlined process. So if you can go on the embassies and the consulate websites, so everything is there. And I think the government here, at least in Germany, they're really facilitating the IT professional coming, not only IT professional, but all many of the other professions as well, to bring in your families as well with yourself. And sometime I think it depends on the country that the candidate or the IT professional or the some other professional wants to come in into Europe. But overall, again, it's a very streamlined process. The documents are there. Um, I would say it's not that hard. So on average, if I can, yeah, sum it up, it can be from 3 months to 1 year, but sometimes some missing documents here and there, some mishaps, but I think it's very streamlined and yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Salman, for sharing those insights, helping us understand from your personal experiences as well, and from your company's perspective as well, when you are helping in terms of talent acquisition, bridging that gap. And right now, I believe you are working in Europe for a different in the Eastern Europe side as well, and in Central Europe as well. This is where you are supporting.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So I'm supporting the company for talent acquisition needs for within Germany, for uh, yeah, Eastern Europe, India, different regions in IT sector. So the company that I'm working in is an IT company. So yeah, different role, different skill mix required, different requirements.
Perfect. Thank you. Um, Moving on to Romando, thank you first of all for being here as well, and we would like to include you now as well into the conversation. So you have been working now with one of the biggest IT firms in Germany, Deutsche Börse Group, in 360T. That's their fintech side of the company. So tell us, what is it like being an IT professional in Europe? How does it feel? What does a
Yeah.
normal day look like as well?
Hi everyone. Yeah, thank you for having me. First thing first. Uh, what is it being an IT professional in Europe? I think it's an amazing feeling, because you're working in a highly rewarding environment, and where there is a strong emphasis on technology, innovation. And it's important to mention that, European countries overall, they heavily rely on their IT infrastructure. It's far more developed than some other regions of the world. So this would make you work in, the different projects and aspects and industries as well. And this is also made more fun, let's say, when you collaborate and work with teammates which are from all around the world. So this would give you a better knowledge sharing experience. And yeah, I would say it's pretty nice being an IT professional in Europe.
Perfect. No, that's good, satisfying for us to know. And In terms of, we have touched upon one of the aspects when we did a comparison of, let's say, the US, Europe, and UAE in terms of, let's say, the number of working hours. One of the important aspects is when you're working is let's say, balancing your work and life as well. So how do you see that? Are you working, let's say, late hours, or is it very well balanced? If you could share your experience around that.
Yeah, I also saw the presentation of Jihun, and that makes a lot of sense. Generally speaking, in Europe, the working hours are less, let's say, compared to US and UAE. And this is mainly because, European companies, they have a strong emphasis on maintaining work-life balance. And I would say that it's not clear that, whether you work a lot of hours or less hours. That depends on the department you work and on the projects you have, because at the end of the day, the way IT works is that you have a couple of projects to work on, and then how you manage your day and deadlines, that depends on you as a individual. But I would say that generally speaking, work-life balance is very good in Europe. Uh, Mainly in working hours, there are less than 40 hours. That is for sure, from what I've seen and what I've talked to with everyone in my network. Another positive thing about Europe is that they offer a lot of vacation policies. It's very good, at least I would say 4 weeks, and then that depends on the experience that you gain. Also, there are a lot of perks and benefits that each company offers. It can be wellness, it can be mental well-being, it can be some gym membership, whatever. So everything that facilitates its employees to have a better work-life balance is highly beneficial for the company, because this will help them maintain a well-being and then productivity of its employees.
No, of course, that's a very interesting to see. Like, when we work with our clients as well, specifically, let's say, in the IT, in energy, we see that the list of those benefits that making sure that employees' well-being is really catered, that are one of the highest priorities. So I think this is what we really see within Europe, and promoting that employee health on priority. Talking about, so you come from East Europe, Romania, Albania, and now you are working in Germany for the past well over 5 years now. And um, so on your personal level, on the professional level specifically as well, that how do you see the diversity in the workplace? You are currently studying as well. How do you see the diversity in both of those areas, if you could tell us around that?
Yeah, great. Well, in regards to my studies, of course, there are people from everywhere, around the world. And this is a good thing, incentivizing people to come and study here. You learn a lot from other people. And and then once you think that the world is just bigger than Europe, like that's what I was thinking when I was back home. Well, then once you see that the world is much bigger and there are a lot of, people, different backgrounds, different cultures, this will help you broaden your horizon as well. In regards to the working culture, of course, it's the workplace in Europe is known for its diversity, and there are a lot of people from different parts of the world, different regions. And of course, because I see this whenever I'm reading online, I see that people are mostly concerned about the language and everything. So these companies being international, of course, English is the main language. And then, of course, this can help collaborate, because especially talking in regards to IT, it's a field that requires a lot of interconnection. So collaboration and communication within your team and other teams is highly important. So I would say, making Europe being very diverse, this would help everyone, learn about how things work, about creativity, innovation, and everything that comes with IT.
No, perfect. And so Salman has touched as well during his conversation around, let's say, the importance of learning the European language when you are, let's say, moving to Germany or other European countries. I think there is a personal aspect to that as well, and then there is, of course, a professional aspect. So on a professional level, as Romando, you mentioned that, since you're working with a global firm, so there are some teams where you can probably get away with not learning the German language. Um, so are there, how would you first rate, if you would say, learning the local language at workplace? How important is that?
I would say knowing the local language would not be that important when you're working in your professional life, unless you're working in some sales department or project manager where you have to specifically talk to, people from certain company from a certain region of EU that would be more comfortable speaking in their own language. But overall, I would say being international companies, communicating with other regions and everything like that, English would be the most important one. But then when it comes to everyday life, this would be a problem in the sense that knowing the basics of the language of the country, the language of the country you're going to, would benefit you a lot. And this is one of those mistakes I personally made, and I saw that it affected me a lot. So I would highly, encourage everyone, once you're on the job seeking process and everything, and then you have made up your mind that you're willing to move to this specific country, I would highly advise to learn at least the basics. I'm not saying to become a native, because that takes a lot of time, but that would benefit everyone in the everyday life. In the professional life, I would say English is more than enough.
Okay, no, thank you, and thank you for that. Salman, I will come to you for this question as well. So now, Romando has mentioned because he's working specifically, let's say, in the IT sector, in the IT firm. But from your perspective, working in human resources, when you are looking for talent in the IT, when you are looking for, let's say, talent for your company, how do you think that how important is the local language, let's say German in this case, at workplace? So how much priority do you give on that sense?
Yeah, I think I will agree with Romando to some extent. But to sum it up, I would say so the language requirement is it's a medium of communication, and in your workplace or in your job, what matter end of the day is how do you get your job done. So whether it's in English, whether it's in German or in any other language, so sometimes the requirement or the job nature is such that yeah, you need to know it, because like Romando mentioned, for example, in sales role, if you're working within the country, let's say in Germany, so you have to meet people, you have to sell your product, so the communication must be in German. So again, depends a lot how you get your job done. So that means depending on the job role itself, depending on the company culture, depending on the so these aspects comes and plays a big role. So let's say in IT role, it will not hurt a lot to not know the language, maybe some programming language, so you have to interact a lot with only your manager, and that would be all. You just deliver on your project. But again, some roles really require, so yeah, depends on the person, depends on the company, depends on the job role.
If I would like to know for our audience as well. So, are there any specific job roles as well that you're working where let's say you have a requirement from your technical manager that, okay, we would need German for this role, or let's say a local European language for any of the roles? If you could share any specific use case, just if it's possible.
Oh, absolutely. I think some roles, let's say communicating with customers. So, I mean, depends how broadened the company is and how many countries the company is. So let's say if the company is more than one country, let's say if it's in US as well, in Eastern Europe as well, or in the Middle East as well. So of course, then the customers can be everywhere. So then that means you have to speak English with them. But customers, let's say from Italy, from Germany, so that's where you have to have specific customer service specialist who speaks in those specific languages. So this is somewhere, but to sum it up, overall, I would encourage everybody to learn the language of that region, because it's not just the communication for the job to get the job done, but also sometimes there are a lot of documentation, there are a lot of, you know, communication, the culture as well. You just go out on a party with your colleagues, so you want to speak in the language where everybody is speaking the same language. So not to feel, I mean, everybody makes you feel very welcome, but it always feels to speak the same language.
Okay, great. No, good to know that. Thank you, Salman, Ramondo, sharing insights on the language. Of course, there's a lot of emphasis, when people are, let's say, considering, let's say, UAE or US or other English-speaking markets, and doing that comparison with the European market, the first thing that comes to mind, okay, so how do you pass the language barrier? So it's good to know that, from that perspective as well, that it depends on, let's say, of course, your area of expertise, how big the company is in there, those factors. But for normal day after work life as well, I think it's important. Good to know. Um, and the next question, so Ramondo, I'll come back to you as on this one. So what are the important opportunities for professional career growth in European IT sector? As we know that you are currently working a qualification in data sciences. You are working in IT, in L1, L2 support, in the financial technology sector. How do you see opportunities for growth for yourself or in your network as well? How are they?
Yeah, exactly. As you mentioned, I've been studying economics and data science throughout my educational career. So I decided to switch to IT for the main reason that it offers career growth, and especially in Europe, professionals can easily advance their careers because since the market is so broad and there are a lot of companies. I mean, we're talking about companies, very big companies, known worldwide, that have their headquarters here in Germany, and they offer different roles in different fields of IT, be that AI, machine learning, as you mentioned, cybersecurity, even clouding, which is a new trend into the IT field. And I would say that although the time is limited because you're working and then you're trying to maintain that work-life balance, it is important within your network to ask people that, hey, I'm willing to do this, hey, I'm willing to learn this specific skill. And this would give you an incentive and would give you an general information on how to approach this. And since I'm talking about this, a lot of companies in Europe, they offer the option to pursue professional certifications for a specific skill that you want, and that's also majority of them pay for it as well. So the only thing you need to have is the incentive to learn it, and then yeah, it's gonna make your career growth very easy in regards to the IT.
No, wonderful. I think I will add to that as well that a lot of we see a lot of bridge between academics and the industry in Europe as well. So a lot of companies, for instance, there are sponsored programs from BMW, from Mercedes, from your company as well, and like the likes of those big small enterprises. So a lot of academic projects that are happening in the universities, these are funded by these big firms. So the bridge between these your academic research and your industry innovation, a lot of this bridge is because there's less gap than that already enhances the opportunities for professionals. So if you are already studying as an IT professional in as a student in a university, you will probably be working on a project that BMW or Mercedes will adopt in the next 5 years. Or I, from my personal network as well, I know a lot of IT professionals, students who are working for projects for these big companies. They are IT professionals who are working and they're engaging those students as well. So there's a lot of back end, forth, networking that's happening between this. So that, of course, enhances in itself the opportunities for IT professionals' career growth.
Mhm.
Okay, so then we move on to our last set of questions before we take the questions from the audience. Future prospects of IT professional. There has been a lot of talk in terms of the analytics that have been shared by Jihun. We see all the data points pointing in the same direction. How do you see the demand of IT professionals in Europe? Romando, I'll first come to you because of your big firm, the one that you're working. How do you see that? Are there too many vacancies, too many new joiners, new colleagues coming in every day? How is it like?
Yeah, exactly. As the data showed that, there is a huge need for IT professionals in Europe. I see that on daily basis, and I hear that on daily basis that there is a big demand for IT professionals. Because the reason behind this is that the market is growing every day, and there is a strong connection as well within all continents. It's not only Europe itself, and there is a big demand in regards to IT professionals. There are a lot of people coming in Europe as well, and of course, as mentioned, with its challenges and everything. But I would say that Europe offers a lot in regards to IT, so just go for it, don't be shy about it.
But so on that note, just in case, like, if you would have a job offer now from the US, would you go, or would you like to still be in Europe?
Me personally, having lived in Europe my whole life, I would say, I would prioritize my work-life balance. I'm in that stage of my life where I would want that, so I would say Europe, benefits me a lot in that sense.
And then, of course, there is you can just in 4 hours in Germany. You are currently based in Frankfurt, and I'm based in Kassel, so it's like 2 hours difference between us. And then in the next 4 hours, you can already be in the Swiss Alps. 4 hours on the other side, you can be in a different country. So I think there's a lot of, like, in terms of after work activities that you can do. Europe offers a lot of, let's say, culture as well in terms of nature and all of that. So I think that's good to know. Salman, coming to you. Romando has mentioned that well, they see a lot of demand, and those points hears a lot as well in terms of the demand from and being an IT professional. How do you see being an HR professional working for the IT? What are the challenges that you see right now when you are acquiring talent? So what are the basic things that for our audience to know that if they will do these things, this would help them? What challenges do you see as an HR professional in acquiring talent?
I think it depends again on the industry. So I mean, if we are talking here in IT profession, so the job role itself, here in Europe, I would say, so a lot of technological advancements is taking place. So that means a lot of new skills are coming into the market, a lot of new jobs are coming into the market. One example could be AI, which is everywhere, and every company is being affected from it positively. So that's everywhere. And let's say to mention some role around AI. So let's say prompt engineer is something, somebody who is in demand, or into any other pre-existing tool, IT tool that was there. So it's been upgraded so that the tool is being integrated inside it, and also the competition is so intense sometimes that it's just some niche skills that you're looking for, or yeah, some products that require some niche skill to take an advantage on your competitor, to make your product as nice as it can be. So the demand is always there. The challenge could be that sometime to find exact mix of that skills, but I think that's also not a very big problem. So I think the companies are offering a lot of learning opportunities within the starting months here. Of course, we talked a lot about the cultural fit, the language fit. That's something that's there, but I think that's again not a very huge issue. But yeah, I would say that the exact mix of the skill set, because in the end of the day, how do you solve that problem requires those skills. So having the skills coming into here, integrating and learning the language, and I think then the professional can work really smoothly.
Okay. Talking about the when you mention about, let's say, the skill set gap, you have the requirements of a job, and then you have, let's say, probably couple of resumes coming in. First of all, tell us. So if you post an IT job in your firm, you have previously worked with Sperton as well in IT, supporting our clients as well. So what is the frequency of applications coming in if you would post a job for Germany? So are there too many? I know from South Asia that if you would post a job, you would receive hundreds and hundreds of applications for the position. So how is it like as a talent acquisition specialist, recruiter? Do you receive a lot of profiles, or there you really have to scrape?
Oh, I think, yeah, sometimes it becomes really challenging. You really have to look for it. You really have to go down, dig down, look for the candidate. I would not say that it's the same number of applications that you will get in South Asia, let's say, or I would say, yeah,
Latin
in that part of
America.
yeah, Latin America. Here it's challenging. Um, so again, depends on the role, depend on the niche skills. You do get some applications, but then again, sometimes they're not very fit. Maybe they are fit for some other roles. But yeah,
Okay.
the scraping is there.
Okay, no, no, good to know. So I think when you mention about, let's say, the skill set gap, so it's really good to know that there is a term that employability. So I think the IT professionals, especially because this is a technological based field, so professionals should really focus on what are the trending skills, what are the future needs of the market, what technological advancements are happening in this area, and just bridging that skill set gap as much as possible. I think that should be one of the takes as when looking for positions. Um, Coming to Romando now. Thank you, Salman, for your input. Romando, how do you see the technological advancements shaping the future in IT in Europe? How do you see how where the direction is going in your, let's say, field of work as well? How do you see the vibe in your organization? How will it affect?
Uh, yeah, that's a really good question. Actually, I would like to answer both last questions.
Oh, please,
Since
please do that. Okay.
Salman also mentioned, AI, and it's just revolutionizing. Everyone, not even in Europe, worldwide is using it, and companies are also trying to use AIs on their own benefit. In regards to data analysis, customer experiences like the one I'm working as well, it makes it very easy, to personalize services for each specific client. And the same thing I would say in regards to advancements. I would say clouding is a huge trend that is reaching recently Europe. At least when I talk about Germany, a lot of companies are switching to cloud computing. Is a cost saving reason as well, and it just makes everything very seamless. Especially with the rise of hybrid and multi-cloud environments. A lot of giants in technology are offering this, and it can just improve operational efficiency both for employees and the organization as a whole. But I would also like to add something when we talk about advancement in regards to Germany. I would say there is still a lot of things to be done. It's not that advanced as, let's say, US and UAE. Like, let's say, take for example the healthcare sector. There's a big gap, I would say, when it comes to technology and healthcare. Uh, Even talking about minimal things like just setting an appointment and then having an online consultation with your doctor, taking the Krankmeldung. I even forgot the word in English right now.
Medical leave.
Prescription and everything. So I would say there's still a lot of things to be done in regards to the future of IT in Europe. But as I mentioned, AI, machine learning, cloud computing, these are the future of IT in Europe.
That is wonderful. Ramondo, thank you first of all, Salman as well, for sharing this insights, and Ramondo, summing it up that what IT professionals should really consider, how the market will be moving, and in which direction they should look forward to. So great. It was a very fruitful discussion. I am hopeful that we have received a lot of questions from our audience as well. We will come to that in a bit as well. But once again, and thank you so much for taking your time out and having this wonderful conversation on a Sunday morning. Now moving on to from our side, that how we can actually help the IT professionals. We have already seen the demand that's there, where Europe is lacking as well in some of the areas. What the 2030 vision of the EU is in terms of moving around with digitalization. We have looked into perspectives from Salman's HR background as well, that the challenges that the talent acquisition specialists, recruiters are facing when fulfilling that demand. Romando, you have already mentioned, as shared your experience on, while working in the IT, how does it feel like? So at this point in time, I would like to come onto how Sperton can really help, and what we are doing actually to really bridge this gap, because we have a very data-driven approach. We have seen, okay, what's coming in the next 10 years, how we can bridge this gap. We already have our a long list of clients that are struggling in finding the right talent, finding the right skill set. So what are we doing in that sense? So a quick introduction about Sperton. We are a management consulting firm, and we help our clients in terms of finding the right talent. This means what the requirement in the market is, what our clients' requirement are, and what resources do we have. We manage the complete employee life cycle. That means from finding the right talent, getting them on board, managing their payrolls, managing the other aspects of the complete employee life cycle. We are headquartered in Norway, but we have our entities across the globe, multiple locations within Europe, in North America. We are supporting our clients in Latin America region, in South Asia, Asia Pacific region, so pretty global in that sense. The four specific areas that we are focused are global recruitment. This means that we are supporting our clients in terms of their talent needs. People management, this includes the complete employee life cycle, all of those small things that we need to look forward to, making sure that the talent is well catered. Then we have global mobility. This is where we are helping our clients in terms of their global expansion. If, let's say, one of our clients are planning, or let's say struggling with some issues, we can help them, let's say, expand into different regions. And this could be for many different reasons, such as, let's say, global, when you're trying to expand your global portfolio and all of that. And then we have business support. This is again where we are helping our clients in terms of managing different aspects of people management. Not only for business to business, but when we are talking about business to customers, this is where we are helping our talent as well, bridging that talent gap between our end client and our and the talent in the market as well. So that was around our portfolio. In terms of some specific services that we are helping are in visa and immigration assistance as well, relocation service, tax and legal, compensation and benefits management, assignment management, logistics, health and wellness support. So these are when we are helping our clients, and this includes the companies as well. And when we are representing our candidates as well, we make sure that all of those small things are well catered. Their process is as smooth as possible, as quick as possible. So we take care of all of those things. And how do we take care of all of those things is because we have a very diversified culture within. We have people working from many different backgrounds. As I mentioned, that we are headquartered in Norway, but we have entities across the globe. So we identify those pain points in this webinar as well. We have people from Latin America, from Asia Pacific region, from South Asia, from Africa. So we understand those pain points and that what challenges do people face in their home countries. There is a lot of fear, as Salman and Romando has mentioned as well, that there are those language barriers, there are some of those cultural barriers that you could face. There's a fear as well, uncertainty that how would we go about it, starting from finding your accommodation to, let's say, switching your career within Europe. So we provide support in all of those aspects when it comes to talent. Some of the clients that we are supporting globally are some big household names like Wärtsilä, ABB, Kongsberg, Siemens in energy and the IT. Then we have Predictor, that's an IT firm, Hitachi Energy, an energy firm, Becton Dickinson in healthcare. So we have a very broad portfolio in that sense, where we are supporting our clients in terms in areas of energy, IT, healthcare, and so on and so forth. So that was a quick introduction on how we are supporting our clients, our talent, making sure that we see this future challenge that's coming in the next 10, 15 years, and we are playing our role the best way we can. So now I would come to the one of the final interesting parts, that is the question and answers. Salman, Romando, I would like to invite you once again to help us answer some of the questions that came from our audience. There's a long list, so we will try to answer as many as possible from our side, and we will try that this would prove to be helpful. So one of the questions that I would take is towards Romando, if I would come to you, because you have, let's say, an IT background, you have worked in you have a degree that has, let's say, data analytics side as well. Plus, you have switched your career from, let's say, data to specifically, let's say, a financial technology L1, L2 support. So one of the questions that came to us is, how difficult is it for a fresher or junior IT professional? I would say, so this question is specifically to relocating to Europe, but first I would come to you, that how do you feel that, a fresh or a junior IT professional can start their career in Germany or in Europe? How easy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please. Yeah, we
Great.
can hear you.
Yeah. That's a really good question. That's a great question, actually, because that fits me. That's who I was, a couple of years ago before starting. So I was just I had just basic knowledge in IT, and I was afraid, pursuing that, in the sense that I don't have the right knowledge about this. I'm not good enough for this, and everything like that. But I would say that as a freshman, it's highly important to first to have network, talk to people in that sector, and then ask them that, hey, this is who I am, these are my skills, and I would really like to approach this specific sector in the IT. And I would say it's not hard to join. As soon as you land there, you will feel lost. But the beauty of it is, as previously mentioned, that there are people from every corner of the world, people that have different experience, people who are experienced in a certain topic and not that experienced on another topic. So talking to them and asking a lot of questions. This is something that I like a lot about Germany specific. If you ask a lot of questions, they will never tell you that, hey, this is bothering me. They're always welcome into questions, and they're always welcome to help you. So I would say, if you just started looking for a job, just ask your network, ask in specific people who are expert in this sector, like you just mentioned Sperton. So just go for it. This would be my advice.
Okay, no, that's good. So there are those opportunities. Wonderful. Salman, for the next question, I would come to you. it's a question from a lot of people face that when you are in your home country, this could be, let's say, in South Asia, in Latin America, and Romando, in your case as well, let's say when you were in the Eastern European side. So getting out of that comfortable zone and now moving to a different region that in itself, like, has a lot of fear and uncertainty. So a lot of people try to be at their home and try wait out for an offer that they can get in their home country and then start that relocation process. Of course, that relieves that uncertainty. Um, how do you see that, since you are now recruiting for a lot of IT professionals, how would you prefer people who are working, who would, let's say, like to seek a job offer just in their home country, or would you prefer people who are, let's say, on the ground in Germany or in Europe? So how would you prefer that? Um,
I think from HR perspective or from recruiter or the company perspective, it's so the company will always feel comfortable knowing that the professional is on the ground. We can meet the candidate or the professional on premises, or let's say. Um, so that's for the company, company perspective. But again, from the documentation point of view, so it makes the life of the company or the HR person really easy, knowing that all the documents are there, the visa is there, all the required documents, the insurance is there. So yeah, to sum it up, being on the ground, coming here, knowing the company, knowing a little bit about the culture, knowing the industry and the needs, this will always help. This will really help. And also from the company perspective as well, they will always prefer having somebody who is on the ground. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's good. One of the another interesting question that came up when we touched upon different job families within the IT and those specific skill sets. So in terms of UI UX designers, so I believe Salman, since you for this question again, I will come to you. Since you are, let's say, looking at a wide variety of professionals, how do you see demand for UI UX designers in the IT?
Yeah, so I think front-end developers, again, so there are a lot of SMEs here in Germany, small and medium-sized enterprises who have those products, IT products, selling within the Germany and also internationally. So yeah, the upgradation process, the front end design, it's always upgrading, and it's always, improvement requires improvement. There are teams. So yeah, I would say there is always a need. From my own personal network as well, I see there are people who have been working in this role from last, I would say, good 5-6 years in a very big firm. Yeah, so this is not only to the product side or the IT product side, but also in other companies as well who sell other products. So the company website is there, and an improvement is required. Sometimes there are bugs, there are some improvement, there are some needs. So this is one of the skills which is, I would say, in very high demand. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's good. There's one more question around, let's say, AI specifically, because we have been seeing a lot, hearing a lot of companies are investing in their digital products, in their non products as well, integrating AI on different levels. So the question comes around that, again, how does the AI space looks like in Europe in the short term specifically? This question is about. Before directing to, let's say, Romando, to you this for this question, I would like to add something from my side as well. So we had recently conducted a study at Sperton where we personally I led the study. This included looking at the impact of large language models, specifically AI, within different aspects of human resources. So where we analyze different functions within the human resources and see that, how large language models, specifically AI, will impact different functions within that. So from an HR perspective, I can tell as well, and from a management consulting perspective, that AI is impacting a lot of sectors, industries. It has already start making that impact. But I would, from our study, we analyze that impact will actually is a positive impact, in the sense that we do not have to really focus on some of the jobs lost, but we should be focusing on the quality of work that it will be improved in what we are doing. So, for instance, now being country manager at Sperton for in Germany, the quality of work, of course, have been improved. If I could do, let's say, 5 tasks in a day, now I'm able to do 10 tasks, because 5 of the repetitive tasks that I had to do just on for myself are really being handled through the models that are there. So there's a lot going on in HR and different functions, different industries. Ramondo, coming to you. Again, technical support on that side, or let's say within the company, how do you see what's happening in the short term in AI? How is that impacting?
Yeah, I would say short-term tasks, AI is highly beneficial, and I see that on a daily basis. Be that a dialogue with the customer who has a specific issue. It just like you mentioned, it just helps me remove these easy tasks or tasks that can be automated, and then I can focus and then I can focus myself in the tasks that require more than just AI. Another benefit could be, just this routine processes, just automatization of these routine processes can easily help me specifically. And another quick example would be just once things are escalated to a developer or project manager, and once they come back with an update, AI just summarizing what they have said saves me a lot of time, and this time I can just use it to be in direct contacts with the customers and just give them the solution they need. So I would say in short-term tasks, AI is highly beneficial, and especially for SMEs, just like Salman also mentioned, with these small companies who also lacking workforce and everything. This is highly beneficial.
No, perfect. And then, of course, you would need professionals to really implement AI as well. So there will be a need. We cannot say that, well, AI would, let's say, be replacing the IT professionals, but you really have to have a need when you will have the need to really, because you need to put into these systems. Then coming back to one of the questions that came is that are there any government programs to relocate IT professionals? I can answer that in the start, and then of course, Ramondo and Salman, you can add to that as well. So in terms of German government supporting IT professionals and giving them opportunities, there is a big need. This is not just say specifically for Germany, but for the entire European Union. There are set targets for 2030 up to 2050. These are in line with the net zero energy targets as well, because if you want to achieve net zero 2050 targets for decarbonization, you would want power, electrification of grids, you would want renewable energy, and all of this energy sector is being supported by the IT as well, because you would need, let's say, cybersecurity people to add security to those electrified grids. You would need IT professionals in different sectors. So there are 2030 targets for digitization of EU, and there are many governments who are supporting these programs. And this is one of the reasons as well where Sperton is making sure that we know that there's a demand for the next many years. We need to fulfill those demands as soon as possible. We need to look into those markets where there is talent, where there's excess talent that could be in different regions within the world, and we are trying to mobilize that talent within the regions where this is most needed at this point in time. And this is where, for instance, Sperton's expertise comes in as well, because we have specifically a data-driven approach. We know what the market in the next 15 years will look like, what demands are there. And a good example could be we can tell that for instance for the healthcare specifically sector, we have a demand of 1.3 million healthcare workers in the next 15 years in the EU, and then likewise there are higher numbers for health IT professionals as well. So all of these initiatives, all of these challenges are being supported by government initiatives. So of course government cannot involve in, let's say, on very macro level. This is where, for instance, the public sector is supporting the private sector is supporting the public initiatives. So Salman, Romando, if you would like to add something that any recent initiatives that you have seen as well supporting this demand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, sure.
please
Go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Sam.
Romano.
Okay, great. I would just like to add that, I can clearly see the difference, from going back 5 years and now. There's a huge incentive from governments, especially when it comes to, since we're talking about IT professionals. I assume that all these IT professionals, they go into the blue card bracket. So when it comes to blue card employees, the German government specifically, but overall in the whole EU, they're just incentivizing everyone to apply and look for jobs, and the process now is pretty straightforward. It's not like it used to be back then.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks, Romando. Salman, please.
I mean, yeah, I think you both covered this point very comprehensively. But just to mention, like Romano mentioned, so yeah, if you have a job in that industry, so from government point of view or from government perspective, they offer you, they facilitate you in terms of, even if you have like a minimum of salary, you will be you will have the opportunity to stay here, to complete your contract time, to spend the complete time. So the facilitation from government is, there is absolutely no pressure. Um, you just need to have a minimum of the salary, and I think that salary range has went down significantly in past few years. So you do not need to have very high salary to stay in here. So yeah, this is something that I see from the government side.
So putting a perspective to that for our international audiences, that you will have less barriers to, let's say, you have less barriers to first entry into the market. So you do not have to have, let's say, a contract as in the US. If you would say that you need to have 12 years of minimum experience for a H-1B visa, and that means you have to have a contract of, let's say, $150,000. In Germany, you do not have to have a contract of $150,000, because back staying in your home country, you probably will not get a contract that high from a German firm. They would want to give that contract to someone who's already there. So they have reduced that entry barrier, and you can easily relocate with a lower salary range as well. And then, of course, that the lower salary ranges in Europe are significantly higher than a lot of home countries that we are talking about here. Okay, wonderful. Then we are moving quickly to some of the questions that we have, and I will answer these questions in one go. So there are a lot of questions around people who have expertise into, let's say, working in CRMs, working as in Cisco specific specialization in network administration, in cybersecurity, in data analysis, network security. So a lot of these job titles that are there, specifically, these are covered and these are well in demand. So the reason, of course, you were invited into this webinar as well, that we have looked upon your profiles. We know that these are in demand, and then those are required for the in present as well and in future as well. So a lot of those sectors are especially skills are covered. Then there are specific questions around IT project management as well. Of course, you would need a project manager, as Romando mentioned as well. In his job, he has to communicate as well. So there are these specific job titles; those are mentioned. What we did in our study, we of course covered those job families and then looked into those job titles specifically as well. And then from my side, I shared, let's say, 2 examples, because in the limited time we cannot touch upon on every single job family and job title. On that note, as summing up from our side, what we will be doing is we will reach out to you in the next week for the next steps, and how we can help our clients, how we can help you in terms of your talent mobility, in terms of bridging that talent gap for our clients, and we will facilitate the entire process, and our teams will reach out to you to initiate that. I would once again thank you, everyone. Our guest speaker, Salman Romando, for taking your time out on a Sunday, for everyone who has taken time out on a weekend and attending this webinar and making it a success. If you have any following questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And we will be happy to facilitate you making your transition to Europe as smooth as possible from our side, and facilitating through every step of the journey. And we, of course, will make sure that we go that extra mile. So as an ending point, then I think we would like to have your feedback on how do you find this event, and if you could please share your quick feedback, and we wish you a wonderful weekend ahead and a lovely week ahead as well.